Hi, it's Scott again, and I'm making a video. I haven't made one in a while. If you watched any of my stuff, you notice I like to shop at thrift stores. I like to look for things of a technical nature, things of a vintage nature. This is going to be my first of, I'm going to make a lot of videos that are like photography related, both digital and film. Um, my age, I'm in my early 50s now, and I grew up in the age of film photography, and film is still a vital part of the art of photography. But if you shop at thrift stores, sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll find some real bargains out there. Now we know that you find a lot of those cheapy plastic cameras. They look like they look like black bars of soap basically, and some of them were actually pretty advanced. They were very automated. They sold from anywhere from maybe $75 to $200. Some of the early ones were pretty well made, but it's kind of, if you don't really know, it's hard to tell the good ones from the cheapy ones. But I found recently, I found some really good classic metal chassis rangefinder and SLR cameras. They're from probably the early to late 1970s. And in other videos that I do on photography, I'll explain, what to look for, what not. But I did find at two of the cameras I found this morning, or the morning that I'm making this video, for $1 a piece. But I'll show you what I found one day at Goodwill. I saw this bag on a shelf, and the bag had a price of $6.99. I see I left a tag on. So I opened up the bag, and first I came across some, your little photo accessories, lens cleaner, lens tissue, like a strap, and another part of the strap, little brush. But then the cool stuff was in here. The J.C. Penney brand Pro Spec. It's like a short zoom lens. I think it's like from 30 to 70 millimeter, which is a good all-around picture taking lens. But there's a camera in here, and the camera is it's a Pentax K1000 SLR, and it appears to be almost like new. It's a body cap. I mean, it's pretty clean. But the only problem was, whoops, well, fell off there. When I looked through the viewfinder, part of the prism has either some smudges or something, or some scratches, but it really doesn't affect my ability to focus and get a good view through the lens. I've put the lens on. I've also tested it, the mechanism. I'll show you the back. It's got your cloth shutter. I just kind of cock the shutter here, and you can kind of see. So you see that? Film advance works, speeds work. The only thing sometimes with some of these cameras that you find you will have to do maybe is you may have to replace what they call the light seal, which is like the interlocking groove of the film door and the cavity. Sometimes they have like some foam seal. Some don't actually, but some do, and sometimes that seal gets kind of gummy and it crumbles with age. There are different ways you can fix that. that don't cost very much, or you can even order kits or whatever for not too much money. But anyway, that, oh, by the way, here you had the instructions and everything for this one. So that's quite a good deal for $7 in the case and everything. Next, I have 3 cameras here that I got for $1 each, and they were all at the same store. One I got a few weeks ago at a St. Vincent de Paul thrift store. At this store, they have like a glass, kind of a large glass display case where they have a lot of cameras. Most of them are, you know, they seem pretty decent. No real super high-end cameras. I mean, there's no like German Leica M5s or anything in this case, but a lot of pretty decent Japanese vintage cameras, some rangefinders, mostly some SLRs from like late 70s, maybe early 80s. But outside the case, they had 2 plastic, kind of like those plastic storage boxes, and these things were just filled with most of what were the cheapy plastic 35mm cameras of various degrees of qualities. Like some were the better ones, like the Nikon One Touch types, you know, the early autofocus rangefinder type cameras, but most of them were the real cheapy plastic ones. But one day I was rummaging through and I found this one though. This is from the late 70s vintage. It's a Vivitar 35ES, and this is a nice rangefinder camera. It's all metal construction. Now, if you know about the history of Vivitar, I mean, Vivitar is kind of like a low-end name now. A lot of their stuff is like cheapy plastic stuff, digital. But this was a really good quality camera when it came out. It had a few dents or whatever in the side here. It had this filter on here, and which was kind of nice because it actually protected the lens. In fact, this filter had a little dent in the side. I kept it on. But when I take the filter off, maybe you can see how good that lens is. And what's really nice about this lens, it's a really fast lens. It's a 1.7 aperture, and most compact rangefinders, they usually have like a 2.8 lens, which is a smaller lens, but to have a fast lens like this is pretty exceptional. The only drawback to this camera is to open the door. I mean, usually you lift this up and the door will pop open. The mechanism here kind of like doesn't work so great, but I can still get the door open. I just kind of have to pry it open past the catch, and I can close it and it stays shut. So I haven't tested this one with film yet, but like I said, the film transport seems to work. See, shutter works. And about the only other drawback, maybe when you're looking for some of these cameras, some batteries types are no longer being made, but you can find substitutes. If you go on the internet, it'll tell you what you can use to substitute. Sometimes you can use a different size, and you can compensate for the size of the battery compartment. You can put like something like a rubber washer or something like that as an equivalent. But that's the Vivitar there. Okay, now I got 2 more cameras that I got just this morning at the same store. And what I found, what was funny is all those upper end SLRs, like I said, they were in that glass case and they were going anywhere from $50, $75 a piece, and some of them looked halfway decent. I mean, they're pretty clean, but I rummaged through those plastic tubs on the floor, and I literally dug these 2 cameras out of there, and I'm going to show them to you exactly as they looked when I got them out. I haven't cleaned them up yet. They got like some grit and dirt or whatever, but one of them works perfectly, and another one I think has a minor problem that I can probably fix. But I'll show you this one first. It's a Fujica STX1, and it's got a Fuji lens on there, pretty fast lens, and you can see the price. $1 camera, and it had like this lower part of the case. It didn't have the cover part of the case. I thought maybe it was around, but I couldn't find it. But this appears to be very, very clean. Like I said, it has a pretty decent lens. Don't know what battery it takes. I haven't even opened the battery compartment. A lot of times you'll find with cameras like this, you'll open the battery compartment and the battery might have leaked and gotten some of that powder crap inside the compartment. Usually you can easily clean that out if you take like denatured alcohol, rubbing alcohol with like cotton swab, and you can clean that out. Usually cleans out pretty easily. But anyway, that's the Fujica there for $1. Now this one is much better. And this one, as far as I know, works perfectly. It's a Minolta SRT 100. Like I said, there's the can you see that? $1. But this is a really great find, and this was like the golden era of Japanese advanced SLRs. It's not what you would call a professional SLR. In fact, maybe in a future video I'll show you. I have a Nikon F, if you know what that is. I didn't get that at a thrift store, but I bought that many years ago at a used camera store. But this camera is really up there in quality. I think this dates from the late 1960s, probably to early 1970s. And everything about this camera just exudes quality. It's heavy. It feels really solid. See that? Nice and smooth. I'll show you the back inside. It's got a cloth curtain shutter. Yeah. Pretty clean compartment there. Nice viewfinder. I think the light seal on this won't need fixing. There's just a few specks of dust or whatever in the prism. I might be able to just blow that dust out of there. It might be just on the mirror. But this is a really nice, incredible find, especially for $1. So that's the Minolta SRT 100 there. So I hope you enjoyed those. Like I said, if you're young and you didn't really grow up in the era of film, you might want to try film. The selection obviously is not what it used to be at the retail level. But you can still special order film. I know a place, B&H Photo. There's a plug. You can get almost any type of film. Of course, the days of Kodachrome transparencies is over, but there's still other like transparency films and print films. And just a quick plug why you might want to still or get back into film or still occasionally shoot film in this age of digital. I think that if you do anything beyond like the point and shoot of, say, with your smartphone, if you have one of those, you'll still find, even in this age of digital, that film, if you want prints, like an 8x10 or even bigger, films will still give you the highest quality image. In fact, a sharp print film or a transparency is the equivalent of like a 40 megapixel image. Well, a 40 megapixel camera SLR, you know, is going to run you like several $1,000s even now. So that's something to think about, and it's, you get back to the simplicity. You don't have that multitude of settings and things with a digital camera. You can concentrate on the art of seeing photographically and interacting with the subject, if it's people or whatever. You're just dealing with like the basics. You're dealing with shutter speed, lens opening, things also like that. Also a quick addendum here from my first original making of this video. A couple extra hints. You might want to buy, I would actually recommend buying just a roll of film as a practice roll. And if you see a camera or whatever, you can test load that roll into the camera and test the film take up. And I'll show you with the Minolta here. What you want to do, you want to test the take up mechanism. And then what you will do is you will close it, wind this until you get the resistance, and then you can actually, as you advance the film, watch that, see how it's turning, so you know that the mechanism is working correctly. And then almost all mechanical vintage cameras, they have a button on the bottom here that you will push, and it usually stays in place, and then you wind back the film. And what you should do, you put it up to your ear as you're winding it back, and you can tell when the tongue of the leader of the film comes out of the take up. And you don't want to wind it all the way back into the cartridge. You want to leave that tongue sticking out when you open it back up. Another thing, I'm going to make a little follow-up video. These cameras, many of these cameras, in fact almost all of these, took a mercury type button battery of various sizes. Now in America and in most of the world, mercury batteries for environmental purposes are no longer being used or manufactured because of disposal. They were toxic. But for like a camera like this, it takes a very common size. It took a very common size mercury battery. Whoops! I even dropped it there. It took a PX625, and in fact, surprisingly enough, this is an old battery, but it still worked. The meter still seems to be working. But in most cases, the battery, if there is a battery, it's probably expired long ago, or it leaked or whatever. But I will make a follow-up video to show you a cheap and easy substitution for a camera that uses like this specific type battery. So that's something that I think that you will enjoy. It's the culmination of a lot of research that I've done. Or you can research, if you find whatever camera that you have found, you could just Google battery substitution for, you know, whatever camera, whatever. There is such a plethora of information, so that, you know, these great cameras that are out there, if you find one. Now, I'm not saying you're going to find one for $1 like this, but you know that these are by no means obsolete. So with that, I'll leave you for now, and good luck and happy hunting. Bye.